There's nothing more sustainable than growing your own food. On a mineral level, you control what's going on in the soil, and that means you can 100% trust the produce. On an energetic level, you're growing food with love, and that's something that's worth its weight in gold. Here at Maismelengech in the Lamasika village, we grow a huge amount of food. Between 60 and 70% of the food that I eat comes directly from the land here. On top of that, we're feeding the other plot residents, plus we're feeding our course participants, and on top of that, we're selling produce in the local town. Today, I'm going to be exploring the different growing systems that we use to do that. Croeso i'r ardd. Welcome to the garden. Let's start with horticulture. Here in our vegetable gardens it's late summer and we have a wide range of produce, most of which is fairly familiar. Things like pumpkins, or kale or potatoes, and some of which is quite unfamiliar. Things like oca, yacon, mangelwurzel. You see, here in the hills of West Wales, we have one growing season that runs from May through till the end of October. And as a result, we have this feast-famine rhythm going on, where we have a superabundance of food from midsummer to midwinter, and then scarcity from midwinter through to midsummer. And the way that we deal with that hungry gap is through drying, preserving and storing our summer produce. Now, we can extend our growing season with our polytunnel. In here, we can crop back to back year round. And so, as our summer crops, like courgettes and tomatoes and grapes, are starting to wind down, we're preparing our winter crops for planting out. Beets and salads and winter greens. Thing is, it takes a lot more infrastructure to maintain a sheltered growing space like this. Not only do you need good composting systems in order to regularly replenish the soil, but you also need a drought-proof irrigation system. In our case, rainwater harvesting and pond catchments. It's also a lot more work, but the advantages of those succulent summer crops and a fresh supply of winter greens definitely make it worth its while. The key to growing good vegetables, as any gardener will tell you, is good compost. You see, vegetables are quite nutrient hungry, and so it's important that we replenish the soil. To a degree we can do that with green manures and with legumes, but nothing actually compares to good compost. And in my experience, the way to make good compost is using animal manures. Here we're layering greens from the garden, goat manure and waste cardboard. We turn it once, we turn it twice, and that's how we create good quality compost for our gardens. And that leads us to our next food growing system, livestock. Now I know there's a lot of vegans out there, I get it, really. Nobody likes to see animals in distress. But the reality of our food growing systems here is that I rely on these goats as part of the fertility cycles in the plot. Their main purpose in life is to gather up these low-level nutrients, grass and leaves, take it up to the barn, deposit it as black gold. That then fuels the compost heaps, which then provides fertility for the vegetable growing. The big advantage of goats is that you can also have a dairy scene, and so for 9 months of the year we have an abundance of milk and cheese. And the thing about dairy scenes though is you get excess males, like little Blue here. Now, I could find a good home for Blue, but the reality, the reality of off-grid living in the winter when it's dark and wet and freezing cold, and you live doing hard physical work outside, is that sometimes you crave a bit of meat, or sometimes I crave a bit of meat. And so I'm going to keep Blue as a meat goat. He'll get at least 12 months, a short but happy life, and then when I come to kill him, I will do so with loving respect. On top of that, we keep poultry, again providing us with manures for our compost heaps so that we can maintain our horticulture systems, but also providing eggs and meat, which are especially valuable during that winter period when the vegetable gardens are sleeping. The other food production system that we use extensively here is forest gardening. Forest gardening is an approach that emulates natural ecosystem pattern, but uses a lot of food crops, mostly nuts and berries, as trees, shrubs or ground cover. You don't often see it because it doesn't lend itself to commercial food production or mechanisation, but for gardeners and homesteaders it's an invaluable opportunity to create low input, high output systems. You do need to get the design right. You've got to choose the right crop choices for your climate and for your geography and combine them in such a way to create supportive microclimates. And if you get it right, they create a resilient and a self-fertile system. That's to say that they're not reliant on composts and manures to maintain their fertility. Orchards are a kind of forest garden, except they specialise in one particular crop, apples in this case. Traditionally, they were used in combination with livestock who were brought in to help build the fertility and manage the areas. And we follow that pattern using geese in our orchard. So we've covered vegetables and fruit and nuts and animal husbandry. And between those systems, we've pretty much got our bases covered here, with one exception, grains. Over the next few years, we will be putting in the infrastructure that will enable us to build that last piece of the puzzle. In the meantime, we are incredibly grateful to have got as far as we have with our food production systems. For us, human scale farming is the future. It is fulfilling on a level that cannot compare with industrial food production systems. It's not just a case of sustenance, you are what you eat. It's also a case of relationship. It enables us to honour our role as stewards of the earth. If you've enjoyed this video, check out our other off-grid homesteading offers at www.lamasearthcentre.co.uk.